Welcome back, everybody. A big thank you to everybody who clicked on the video. I greatly appreciate that, as always. Today, though, we are taking a look at another Game Boy Color physical ROM hack cartridge, and it's one that's been around for a while. You've probably heard of it, and it is none other than Pokemon Prism. So yes, we're taking a look at Pokemon Prism today. Just take a look at this case. Really take it in with me, because this case looks, or this is a box art case, I guess it is. I don't really know what the proper name of this is, but it looks flawless. I mean, this is the best looking case I think I've gotten. It definitely resembles that more of a actual Game Boy Color game case, rather than the hard cases that I've usually taken a look at. So I definitely like this a lot more. It feels, you know, obviously flimsier. It's not a hard case, but it looks just way better than anything I think I've seen. No hate to anything I've taken a look at so far, but this stuff just looks great. So real quickly, for those who don't know, Pokemon Prism is a ROM hack of Pokemon Crystal version, and I believe back in the day when I played it at least, it was originally a ROM hack of Pokemon Gold. I'm not 100% sure when they made the transition, but from Gold to Crystal, that's an obvious upgrade, and I'm sure along the years they've gotten various upgrades on this game. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this game made headlines. I remember this game received a cease and desist from Nintendo, I think back in 2016 maybe? They actually had to stop making this game entirely. It was quite the news. Also, for those of you who don't know, Pokemon Prism is actually a sequel game to Pokemon Brown, and I did a video of that before, so if you guys want, you can check out that video. I definitely think you guys should check out Pokemon Brown the game at the very least. Very, very fun. And technically, that means both of these are created by the same guy, Koolboyman. So shout out to Koolboyman again. These games are definitely fun. At least Pokemon Brown was. I haven't gotten very far into Pokemon Prism before, but I'm very eager to check it out. And of course, we do have this very, very nice box here, which I mentioned earlier. Very, very impressed with how this looks. But this is, of course, not the only part of this that we're looking at. We've got to pop this open and check out the game. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, another quick look here. I'll go ahead and pop it out of this other little protective case here, but yeah, this game looks nice. I saw this online. This looks very, very good. Look at that shine right there. Pokemon Prism, everybody. Take a look at this. This is definitely the prettiest and shiniest Game Boy Color case, cartridge case that I've ever come across. I love the way this looks. Both the case for the game and the actual cartridge for the game. I mean, this is clean here. Look at that. You can see my fan back there. That is good looking. I like this a lot. The cartridge kind of looks metal, and that's definitely how I thought, but I'm obviously not surprised that it's not metal. But don't be fooled. It's not metal, but it definitely, that does not take away from how beautiful this thing looks. It really doesn't. Very, very, very impressive. But obviously this thing aces the physical aspects of everything. We're not surprised by that at all. But we're going to go ahead and plug this into the Game Boy and take a look at the game now. All right, now that we finally have the game in here, how I typically do this is I usually go through the intro a little bit, you know, get the starter, maybe work our way towards the first gym, and then that's where I usually cut away and then come back. And I'm still going to do all that. I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit faster than normal because this game has been out for a while. There's a good chance a lot of you have probably already seen it, but for those of you who haven't, I am still going to be going through it a little bit. However, this is not going to be a full review of Pokemon Prism, so I'm going to keep spoilers light, but there will be some spoilers for those of you who do care. So there is some character customization in the beginning of the game, very reminiscent of Pokemon Crystal Clear, if you guys are familiar with that. And one thing that actually makes this game stand out, I think, very similar to Special Pikachu Edition, is your choice of starter. So like Pikachu, you only have one choice of starter, and this time you have Larvitar to pick from. So hope you guys like Larvitar. I do, so it really wasn't a problem with me. And another thing that is definitely worth mentioning is all throughout the game, not just in the intro, you're going to be running into a lot of Pokemon that don't find themselves in Gen 2 typically. You're going to see a lot of Pokemon from Gen 3 and 4, and I think maybe a few others like Sylveon outside of those as well. And I gotta be honest with you, you probably can tell this, the sprite work in this game is amazing. The colors on everything pops, and the way that they've incorporated these new Pokemon and the way they look, I mean, it looks exactly how I think Nintendo would have done it if they kept this Gen 2 line going. The artwork and everything, like the way like Numel looks or the way Gliscor looks. I mean, it looks like an actual Nintendo dev put that in there himself. So big shout out to Koolboyman. You really outdid yourself. Pokemon Prism does also have a few features that original Gen 2 games did not typically have. For example, we have an upgraded battle system, so you've got abilities on your Pokemon now, you've got new moves, new animations, things like that. You also at various points actually get to take control of the Pokemon. I believe in the beginning you pick Larvitar, obviously, he's your only one, but there are multiple points throughout the game where you actually do get to pick which Pokemon you use, and you actually get to take control of them to complete various tasks and things like that. Nice little upgrade to the game. And now moving on with the intro here, once you have successfully taken down your would-be thief rival and completed the task for the professor, we can go ahead and get a move on for the city that has our first gym battle. So the gym challenge is typically my favorite part of any Pokemon game, and first up in Pokemon Prism, we have the Fire-type gym specialist, Josiah. And according to the people of the town, you're a bit of an arrogant asshole, so this will be fun. We do have a pretty simple and straightforward first gym here. Nothing too crazy, it's pretty nice and easy. It feels like a pretty authentic first gym, if I do say so myself. I'm liking the way it feels so far. Now making our way over to Josiah here, we're greeted with our first gym leader intro here. Just a nice little upgrade they added to Pokemon Prism. I was a big fan of it. It helps make the gym leader battles feel a little bit more special, you know? I like the way it looks. It's a nice quality of life improvement. Seeing as Josiah is Fire type and our starter is Larvitar, you're probably not going to have too many issues with this first gym like me. It's a pretty simple, standard first gym. I like the way it felt. It wasn't too hard. Kind of feels like how I think an actual Nintendo game would feel. Alright, now that we have taken down the first gym of Pokemon Prism, we are going to answer probably the most important question in this video. Definitely the main reason why I'm making this video. And that would be, does this physical cartridge hold its save? Is it reliable? Can we beat it? Does it hold the save? So now that we have gotten where we're at in the game, we'll go ahead and cut away. I'll test this save out and we'll be right back. Okie dokie everybody, I am back and I have some tremendous news to share with you. This game does in fact hold a save and has done so over the course of several weeks. I've put about 29 hours into this game, not quite, and over these weeks that I've been playing this game, I have successfully taken down the first 8 gyms of Pokemon Prism, as well as toppled the Elite Four and achieved champion status. Which of course I could not have done without this amazing team here. I will briefly show off this amazing team filled with some old and some new, but without them I know for sure I could not have taken down Prism's Pokemon League, which leads me into the first thing that I want to talk about, which is of course Prism's Pokemon League, the gym leaders and the Elite Four that I had to tackle in order to beat this game. I personally was a fan of all of the gym leaders I came across in Pokemon Prism. They all seemed like a pretty colorful cast of characters, and I enjoyed battling all of them. I think my personal favorites were probably the last 3 gyms. Gym 6 and Gym 7 were actually utilizing 2 of the new types that they added to the game. So if you are familiar with Brown, it actually added 3 types into the game, which I was a pretty big fan of, but I felt like it was underutilized. However, in Pokemon Prism, that is not quite the case. You know, more Pokemon, but also 2 of the gyms utilizing those 2 types. First up with 6 was the Gas-type gym. A relatively simple gym layout, but nonetheless, I had a fun time taking on the Gas types all the same. It's definitely fun being able to take on a type you don't normally see inside the Pokemon games. And then up next with gym number 7, we got to take on the Sound type this time. And it was pretty fun, but they definitely cheated a little bit and used a little bit of electric type, but it made sense for the character, so we won't complain too much. And finally, with gym number 8, we don't have a new type being utilized here, but we do have the Steel type, and the reason why I find this gym really fascinating is because basically he makes you work for it. So essentially what happens is once you enter the gym, you get your team taken away from you and you get thrown to the basement. Basically, you have to puzzle your way out of the basement while slowly regathering your team, as well as taking on some of the old gym leaders again. It actually took me a minute to beat this one because of the way they redistribute your team back to you. Basically, they're giving you all your weak guys first, and it took me a minute to get through there, but we succeeded nonetheless, and I had a super fun time taking on that gym. It was definitely the most unique gym in this game by far. And of course, what game would be complete without an Elite Four, am I right? It has always been my favorite part of any Pokemon game, you know. I want my Pokemon game to have a super dope, really fun Elite Four, and I think this game definitely came through with that. So first up we have our Lorelei of the group with Yuki. However, one could argue that Yuki's team is far superior to Lorelei's team. No offense to Lorelei, but you kind of have a doo-doo team, you know? Yeah, I don't know. Yuki's got some pretty heavy hitters, and no offense, Lorelei, but I think you need to work on your team.
And the second member of the league is Sora, who uses Flying type. And if I'm being honest, Flying type, probably my favorite Pokemon type out there. Probably next to Bug, and I know I might get a lot of hate for that. But I can never miss an opportunity to shout out anybody who uses the Flying type, especially somebody who uses, in my opinion, the best regional bird Pokemon out there.
Third up is my least favorite, who is Dai Chi. He uses Ground type, and I'll just say that he talks a lot. Like, a lot. We'll leave it at that. And the final member of the Elite Four is actually the former champion, Murra. So anybody who's actually played Pokemon Brown may be familiar with Murra. That is the former champion and the champion in Pokemon Brown, but since he's been defeated, he's now just a regular old Elite Four member. But I thought it was pretty neat being able to see him in this game again. It definitely shows that the games are actually tied into the same universe. It's neat. Also nice being able to see a familiar face again, so I thought it was pretty cool. And what better way to end the Elite Four than with the coolest champion of all time? For spoiler reasons, I won't say Lance has made his way into this Pokemon's league, so naturally I was a pretty big fan of that. Even though I think the Dragon type is a little overrated, Lance just always hit it home for me. I was really happy to see him in this game. And if you play the game, or if you've already played the game, it makes sense having him in this game. I won't spoil it for you, but it makes sense. Now what's really great about Prism is once you've beaten the Elite Four, there's actually still plenty to do. Very similar to the Gen 2 games, you get access to multiple regions, and I think there was upwards of like 20, maybe 20 plus badges I think you have in total. Once you've become champion, you actually gain access to the Region region, which is the region of Pokemon Brown, and that gives you access to I think like another 8 gym badges. And then I do believe you actually get to go to Kanto and Johto, but not the full Kanto and Johto, just like a couple cities. I believe in Pokemon Brown you got to make your way to Johto and fight Bugsy, so I think you can do something similar to that in this game as well. Typically in my videos there's usually some point along the way that I talk about glitches or any mishaps that may have occurred while I was playing the ROM, but Pokemon Prism seemed pretty smooth. I didn't notice anything that stood out, and I think that might be a first. Typically there's at least 1 or 2 things that stand out to me that I want to point out that I'm questionable on, but Pokemon Prism, like I said, pretty smooth. I didn't notice anything that stood out to me, so I think that might have been a first in this case. So Pokemon Prism was definitely better than I expected. I didn't think it was going to be a bad game, but I was just intimidated by it, and I am certainly glad that I played it. We got to see a ton of new things. It was such a colorful looking game. Seriously, the camera does not do this justice. It probably makes it look like garbage, but I promise you it's not. I also loved all the new things that they added to the game, like the addition of the new types from Pokemon Brown, as well as abilities into the game was really cool. I'd also mentioned earlier how you actually get to play as your Pokemon, which was really neat. There were a couple points in there, basically like little mini games and tasks that you had to complete. I also liked all of the puzzles that they added to the game, as well as being able to mine. You know, you could get pickaxes and mine and just find different random items. It was really neat. All that, coupled with the amazing sprite work of this game, really helps Prism stand out amongst all of the other ROMs. I mean, seriously, this might be my favorite ROM of all time. I had such a tremendous time playing this game. It was an absolute blast. Alright, that is going to just about do it for the video today, guys. I'll say it for probably the 100th time. I had an absolute blast playing through Pokemon Prism. It was a ton of fun, so much fun. It was an extremely well-executed and well-crafted ROM. So if you guys are looking for, a slightly more mature and increased difficulty Pokemon game, this is definitely going to be the game for you. And of course, our physical product checked all the boxes in my opinion. It looks absolutely amazing. Probably the shiniest cartridge I've ever come across. And of course, the best part about it is that it all saves. I've got about probably 28-30 hours into this game, been saving for weeks. It holds the save, and it saves pretty fast too. This is probably a higher quality ROM we're dealing with, so everything's great. We came here hoping that this game worked, hoping that it would save, and of course hoping we would have a fun time playing it. So if you guys enjoyed the video or Pokemon Prism, feel free to hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I definitely recommend you guys check out the ROM at the very least. It's a ton of fun, and if you guys enjoyed enough, you may consider getting it physically like I did. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.